It's the end of the year, and so of course, time for those wrap-up top 5 list type things. But instead of telling you guys what I think you should do, I wanted to give you guys a report on what you like the most. This video is the top 5 most viewed videos that survived 2024. Yes, unfortunately, it is the surviving videos. While I was out of the country on a trip for the industry, YouTube attacked the channel, deleted 60 videos en masse, accusing them of facilitating the sale of regulated goods. Now, those of you that have been with the channel for a while know that I don't sell anything at all. I am just here to inform. I get my hands on something, I put it through the same protocol I've done with everything else, so you guys have a fair and even, balanced, unbiased report, and you can compare its performance to other things. That's all my channel is. But YouTube decided to delete 60 videos. The appeal process had equals reject in the URL, and the rejections came back before I could make it from the second floor of my hotel to the first floor of my hotel for the business breakfast that I needed to be at. I then contacted YouTube and they said, sure, send us the URLs of the deleted videos. Well, that's kind of hard to do when the videos are deleted. Anyways, of the surviving videos, which 5 guns got the most views? Number 1 most viewed was the Franklin Armory GS173. That's right, this is a binary capable Glock 17 setup. I found it interesting that this got the most views, since generally the audience of GBGuns is not of the mag dump into trash group, and the mag dumping into trash is kind of what I had previously thought of Franklin Armory's binary triggers. And I told them that when they contacted me, and they said, yeah, we get that. That's what the influencers did when we launched these things, and that kind of became our name, but we really think there is a better application for them. We'd like you to explore that. I said, okay, send it. Now, this particular setup is not inexpensive. A lot of people had problems with that. I can't say prices here on YouTube, but of course you guys know where to find it. In comment is where I give all the further details. But what you're getting for that money is an optics-ready, night sight equipped, unique slide that has a switch to be able to go from single shot to binary, as well as the trigger mechanism that's needed to go in there. I don't blame Franklin Armory for their prices. They had to develop this, they had to manufacture this, and it wasn't an off-the-shelf ready product like so many of the Glock made products are. My experience with this showed me that binary does indeed have a function. If we recall that FBI statistics show, regardless of caliber, it takes 3 hits to incapacitate an attacker. Now that could be that maybe your first hit is a lethal shot, but it's not an immediately lethal shot. And the opponent either doesn't realize that they've been hit, they're in shock, or they're determined. So, in the words of Carnicon, a well-perforated bad guy reaches room temperature quickest, and this can help you do that. There is, however, a conundrum. Now, I demonstrated from, I believe, 10 yards, being able to dump all 17 rounds from this Glock 17 onto the torso without any errant shots. However, that does require some skill, and some might argue that that same skill allows you to shoot quickly. So I think there's somewhat of a paradox there. In order to really take full advantage of this for defensive use, you need to be a skilled shooter. And if you're a skilled shooter, you may not need this. However, I think some of the other applications, like the Screebog binary trigger, that is something that could be a house gun that, if you've got mature trained adults, would be an excellent home defense option. This could be, but make sure that no one picks it up that doesn't know what they're doing. And as always, something that's unique about Franklin that I tested and found to be valuable, and that is that you can cancel that second shot if you want to. While the trigger is still pinned back, switch from binary to single, and it's canceled. You can release the trigger, it's not going to fire that round. That's a big one. I saw a lot of guys commenting about some inexpensive knockoff binary setup for Glock, and that it was way better because it costs less. It also does not have the ability to cancel a second shot. You are stuck firing that round no matter what happens, and that to me is scary and irresponsible. So good on Franklin for making a good setup with the GS173. The second most popular video was the Beretta APX A1 Compact, seen here wearing a Viridian RFX 44 mailbox enclosed emitter dot. I wanted to try enclosed emitter. I prefer green dot over red, so I went with Viridian and tried it. It does look a little funky on here. Back to the pistol at hand. These are very affordable and I found to be quite excellent. The fit and finish is fantastic. The trigger is a little bit on the heavier side, but not inappropriate for carry. In fact, it's more appropriate for carry, I'd say, than a lighter trigger. It's very predictable. The ergonomics on it are great. The texture is good. It's an all-around great pistol that can be had for a very low price. It's also a chassis system gun. I hope somebody picks up and it does some grip modules or something to that extent to run this. The only thing that kept me from really falling in love with it, even though it's a 15 rounder that almost pinches my pinky, is the shorter barrel. Now I understand that some folks prefer shorter barrels depending on their body shape, size, and carry location. I get that. I'm just at 6'1", almost 250 pounds. I carry 4 inches or longer because I can get away with it, and I'd rather have full performance from my 9mm ammunition. That said, there's plenty of plus P options and rounds calibrated specifically to perform optimally out of shorter barrels, so don't let that dissuade you from a short barrel. Just be aware of it when you're picking your defensive ammo. The APX A1 did great. I really want to try one of the full sizes. I tried to buy one for the channel most recently with patron funding. The best price by far was GBGuns, and then GBGuns didn't want to ship to me. I don't know why. They years ago were enforcing Oregon's Measure 114, which, though it passed, was held up in courts and immediately struck down. It never went into effect, and GBGuns doesn't seem to care. In the past, they at least answered my emails and talked about that. This time, they just canceled the order. So I ordered again, and they canceled the order. So, who knows? But maybe someday we'll get the full size of this guy on the channel, but a really good gun available at a great price. I don't blame you at all for looking into this, and I really recommend trying one out when you get a chance. The number 3 most viewed was the Sig P365 Fuse. And once again, I don't blame you. I'm pretty excited about it myself. The Fuse takes the super slim 365 chassis and slaps it into a longer grip to give you 17 rounds in the same length that's typically 15 rounds on most traditional guns, and a 4.3 inch barrel. So you're getting your full velocity out of 9mm and then some. You're also getting a slightly slower slide, which makes for better recoil control. At the same time, Sig released their enclosed emitter little micro dot that sits low enough on this thing that you can co-witness with the sights, and that makes me comfortable with it. In fact, I even carried this at TriggerCon. Pretty neat pistol. It has a hefty price tag, higher so than other 365s. That is hard to bite on when you're looking at your budget. However, this is something that is carryable and rangeable, and that's a sweet spot of pistols that used to exist with 4-inch 15-round fatter guns, but with Sig's micro compact magazine format, you get something slimmer, so easier to carry with higher capacity, and we're getting that long length barrel. The only gripe I could have about this is the same gripe I have for all micro compacts, and that is these magazines are not the most fun to load. However, I was originally planning on taking this to a training course. It's just I had the opportunity to go to Finland pop up, and my decision was between more training or go to a country I hadn't been to before, so I went to Finland. One day I will take this to a course. I bought the extra mags for it, I've got the holsters for it. It's a pretty nice gun that is a realistic, reasonable performance carry option. Fourth most popular in 2024 on the main channel was the Derya Melik, a Beretta 92 FS clone with the updated locking block with a nice red dot for a front sight. It is, of course, a decocker and safety model, so leave it down and you're unsafe. Pop it up and you've got a nice, always check first, very smooth double action, and the single action on this is pretty nice. Now, as I said, because this thing ranked in all 3 categories this year, I've shot other Beretta 92 clones that weren't that great, and what's funny is having shot them as well as my experience in the Army with really tired, abused M9s that weren't properly maintained. I didn't like the M9 platform at all. The Langdon Tactical 92 Elite LTT, of course, changed that, but that's a hand-done, really nice gun. This is not an LTT. It's not that nice, but it's certainly nicer than anything I shot in the Army, and it's nicer than any of the other 92 clones. Very tight fit and finish. I like the walnut and two-tone, though there is an all-black version available. And as far as I know, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, since I don't tinker with guns that I have in here for the library, it accepts standard Beretta 92 parts. So if you want to change stuff out, you can. As well as, of course, the magazines. It's a big old heavy honking gun, and that's a good thing. When it comes to range time, this thing is super comfortable and smooth to shoot. Just such a great time. And of course, that open slide means that malfunctions are nearly impossible, because if a round can't escape out of that, it wasn't going to escape in the first place. Really nice pistol. The only flaw I had was the pin on the right side of the safety lever here. Tried to walk on me a little bit. I took a roll pin punch, knocked it back in. It has not tried to come back out since. However, I also haven't had it at the range since. But should that pin be poorly made or wrong size, they're easy enough to replace. I'm not too worried about it. Derya arms I was not familiar with before 2024. Rock Island Imports, or Rock Island Armory, is importing them for us. So it's kind of funny, you got a Turkish manufacturer being imported by a Philippine company to the US. But still, somehow, they're super affordable and seem to be of high quality. I haven't seen any super high round count tests, and I tend to not believe those things when I do, because there's a difference between putting 5,000 rounds through a gun over the course of a year and putting 5,000 rounds through a gun over the course of a weekend, as far as heat and wear and climatic conditions and all that kind of stuff. But even if it doesn't last forever, it's an affordable way to get into the 92 platform and experience it and enjoy it. And if you can afford to wear it out, you can probably afford to replace it. Number 5 most viewed, the other Derya arms, the DY9. These guys sure are starting off strong in the US market, and they've got some work to do to maintain that for next year. I'm curious to see what else will come out. Now, the DY9 is essentially a Gen 3 Glock 19 clone. You get interchangeable back straps, you get a magwell, you get crayon-sized, gigantic fiber optic sights. Not optics ready on this model, so sorry for those of you with impaired vision or those who like to only shoot in fair weather. You're going to have to wait. But overall, it's good. The trigger was a bit heavier, less refined than some of the other Glock clones when I did the Glock clone roundup. However, when I did that roundup and I did my made-up drill, I performed best with this thing. And I attribute that to the very same sights that made printing a tight group a challenge, because they're so large. That largeness, were in a speed situation and defensive situation, which is what the drill was, were great. It was easier to get on them, and that heavier trigger almost prevented me from messing up or allowed me to be a little rougher with the gun. So I see that as a value. And speaking of value, I purchased this thing for just under $200. They're not that inexpensive anymore. That was our early, like, no one knows what this is price. Now the price will be going up. But if you're looking to get into a Gen 3 Glock 19-ish thing, it's a great way to do it. And with this magwell on here, I don't have to fear smashing my pinkies like I do on all pistols of its regular size. That magwell protects, and the lack of finger grooves on the front also means that I can put my fingers where they belong. The Gen 3 Glock 19, Gen 3 Glock finger groove pattern tends to land my fingers on the high points instead of into the grooves, just because my middle finger is a little too big for the first gap, and it throws everything else off and makes the gun a little more challenging to control and a little less comfortable. Not a problem with the DY9, so they did a great job here. Now, as always, and hopefully you guys have picked up on it by now, full information on this stuff, it will be in the pinned comment. The full reviews of all of this is over at my site, which I can't mention on YouTube anymore, even though I don't sell anything there. Whatever, they don't want you to be informed. So if you're joining us on Rumble, thank you for joining us on Rumble. If you were one of the patrons that made 2024 possible for the channel, thank you dearly. This is one of 3 categories for 2024. We also have Reader's Choice, which were different. This was viewer's choice, and the third one will be my picks, things that I found interesting, which I don't want to push my opinion on you, but having reviewed close to 500 handguns and spent more than 60 complete days in some level of national or international level training, it takes a lot to impress me. So the fact that I had more than 5 in 2024 should speak something to you, and you may want to consider those guns. As always, thanks for watching. Thank you, patrons, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Patreon supporters. GBGuns, and I do to level Andrew P. Joseph T. Randy ALG. Peter A. Tom. Moises S. Fast Eddie. Tylo Tude 1-5 Brian P. Sky King Derek S. Jr. Thanks for the tip level. David P. Kratos III God Slayer. Abdrew Beely H. Christopher J. J.S. Foreign and Pride Farms. Jeff O. Michael W. David G. Old Kite Tuba. Fred L. Robert B. Ohio Cruffler Steve Briscoe. Cartstick Jr. Rich. Rich R. Red Sky. Wahid Z. Fierce Southern Me 6. Uncle Munsey. David F. Allen B. Laura P. Andrew C. Keeping things on this level. Gary B. Layfest. Daniel D. Ed Z. Jake J. Adam J. Brad M. George H. Othniel M. Cody. Double Marks S. Such Hogan. Lewis R. Edit P. Logan G. Brian K. RBMD 2022A. Gil B. Ron Z. Gorch. Mike NC. Technocom. FMT CJ. Ronald